Hey guys, today I want to talk about one of my favorite productivity books. It's called Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog. So there's tons and tons of productivity YouTube videos. I don't even think I'm qualified to talk about this, but oh wow, that sounds like imposter syndrome. These principles that I'm going to talk about today are very common, very, very common. So you probably already know about the 80-20 principle. The 80-20 principle was described by Wilfredo Pareto, where he discovered that 80% of the results come from 20% of the people, and 20% of the economy came from 20% of the particular industry. You can apply this in your own life, where 80% of your success will come from 20% of the things you do. So Brian Tracy says there's like a 7-step thing in his book. I'll try to link it. So he says write everything that you want to do and then choose the number one thing that would contribute to your job. Like, let's say, for example, you have a huge exam coming up, and then you want to know what are the most important topics that will come to the exam, and then focus on them first, because this is where the money is. Yeah. Now, this is a cool principle. Okay. So the upgrade of this rule is the 4% rule. The 4% rule is multiply 80-20 times 2. So there, inside the 80-20, there's another 80-20. It's like the 10% or the 4% that will give you the 94% of your results. This is from Sell Like Crazy by Sabri Suby. That's actually very interesting. So the principle is, now this is a business book. Like, business is the essence of productivity. In business, you need to do a lot of things, but you can't do them alone. So it mainly depends on you doing stuff that's really important and delegating the other stuff. So it empties time for you to focus on the 4%. So once you do that, it really changes the game. I made a video on how to have a productivity system for ADHD. I'll link that here. So the next thing that I really liked is the ABCDE system. So the A is for the things that really are important, but are not, they're really important. And if you don't do them, there are serious consequences. So yeah, that's an A task. B, same, but it has minimal consequences. C is for no consequences. You don't need to do that. Something like going to lunch with someone. I know that sounds antisocial. Let's say going to print paper from a shop physically instead of emailing them, and then doing this in the morning, where you have the highest concentration levels and you have the highest levels of cortisol. So yeah, that's definitely a C. You can do that. That could be an A. If it's not urgent, well, definitely it's a C. D is a delegate task. Something that you don't need to do, someone else can do it for you. And you don't have to be a manager to delegate. It's very, very important. And E is something that you could eliminate. Now, eliminate is like watch 10 movies a day. You can eliminate 9, for example, or spend 2 hours on social media. I know that I sound like a freak, but so what you do is you mention like 100 tasks. So you mention all the tasks after you do the brain dump. You mention all the things that you want to do in a day, and then you classify them according to the ABCD system. So it looks something like this. I usually do a A1, A2, A3, because A1 makes a lot of sense. A1 is something that if I don't do, I'm gonna eat crap. So once you do that, you get the importance of knowing exactly what you need to do and in what particular order. If you spend time on the E and D, you're gonna take the time and the energy and the concentration of the A task, and you're gonna regret the consequences. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is one of the topics, is planning every day in advance. So once you have the A, B, C, D, and E, you schedule your blocks. You schedule the tasks that you want to do, especially the A ones, in the beginning of the day, because the whole point of the book is called Eat That Frog. The things that are ugly and annoying and you don't want to do, and you procrastinate on it a lot, you try to do it in the morning. And this is something that a lot of people avoid, but once you do it, you get this amazing feeling. What a relief. It just feels absolutely amazing. But this is for the procrastinators of the world, which is a lot of people. If the A task or that frog is ugly, the next thing that Brian recommends is slice and dice the task. Now, this is the same thing as the 2-minute rule of James Clear. Almost the same thing. Just get on the task, the A task, and start 2 minutes and close the timer. Like, strictly 2 minutes. Start it and then leave, and then close everything and run away. What happens is it activates, I'm not sure how this works, but I think it activates the Zeigarnik effect. It's by the psychologist Blumia Zeigarnik. And Blumia Zeigarnik says that if you start something, your brain will start nagging you that continue it. So you will feel much better than starting the task, and then it won't seem as scary because our brain tends to magnify the task too much. There are 3 rules that are specifically that Brian talks about. Is rule number 1, Long-term thinking improves short-term decision making. This is very similar to the ABCDE system, because if you plan an easy and efficient system for a month or two or a year, you don't have to focus on the short decisions every day, especially if you have a lot of things to do. You're going to be overwhelmed. And especially if you have the end of the day, you're going to have decision fatigue, which is kind of irritating. Rule number 2 is there will never be enough time to do everything you have to do. This, as simple and beautiful as it sounds, there will never be enough time to do everything you have to do. Once you accept this fact, you're actually gonna use the ABCD system with peace and not be irritated about what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And once you do that every single day, you're gonna gain confidence in yourself. The Parkinson's, this I don't need to explain. I'm sure you have heard about, but the Parkinson's law is the task expands according to the time. Now, the inverse, this I did not know. The inverse of Parkinson's law is called Horstman's Corollary. The Horstman's Corollary to Parkinson's law, work contracts to fit in the time we give it. So setting in plain English is setting deadlines. Setting deadlines is one of the most underrated tactics to do something. Once you give a task something, it will somehow shrink, and it is the enemy of perfect, which is amazing, which is good enough. So if you deadline a task, you're gonna get it done, even if it's not perfect, but it's gonna do the job, so you can move to the next thing. These are my top tips I loved from Brian Tracy's book. Thank you. See you in the next one.